It's been American history in the making. Here at home with former Trump fixer Michael Cohen's testimony before the House Oversight Committee, and halfway around the world in Hanoi, where President Trump has been meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. Producing this New Yorker cartoon, the president wants to know if North Korea's missiles can reach Michael Cohen. They can't, by the way, and so the hearing went on, with all eyes on Cohen as he testified against his old boss before the House Oversight Committee, starting with a bombshell opening statement.
I am ashamed because I know what Mr. Trump is. He is a racist, he is a con man, and he is a cheat.
But with Cohen being a felon, convicted for, among other things, lying to Congress, the hearing quickly became a battle over his credibility.
You're a pathological liar. You don't know truth from falsehood.
For those who question my motives for being here today, I understand. I have lied, but I am not a liar.
And in an effort to prove it, he brought with him multiple documents, including a $35,000 personal check signed by the president while in the White House, which Cohen says was to reimburse him for hush money payments to Stormy Daniels. Cohen also testified about potential Russian collusion, that June 2016 meeting in Trump Tower, and about WikiLeaks.
I recall Don Jr. leaning over to his father and speaking in a low voice, which I could clearly hear, and saying, "The meeting is all set." And I remember Mr. Trump saying, "Okay, good, let me know." He was a presidential candidate who knew that Roger Stone was talking with Julian Assange about a WikiLeaks drop on Democratic National Committee emails.
And that was just the start. But what does it all mean for Donald Trump in the long run? Joining me to discuss are Martha Coakley, former state attorney general, now a partner at Foley Hoag. Good to see you, Martha.
Hi, Jim.
Former acting U.S. attorney William Weinreb, who's now a partner at Quinn Emanuel. Bill, it's good to see you, too. Thanks so much for being here.
You too, Jim.
As of this taping, and the hearing is still going on as we talk, what happened that worsened the legal situation of Donald Trump, Martha?
I actually think this was much more about his political situation than his legal situation. Whatever has already happened is out there. We know all of the people have been indicted. We know what that means. And we don't know exactly what Mueller is going to do. But this is the first time the public have heard from someone who is close to Trump, and now is saying, I lied before, but I'm not a liar. Some pretty convincing anecdotes, some pretty persuasive circumstantial evidence about...
What was the most persuasive to you?
Oh, he was very credible, I thought, in terms of saying, I made a mistake, I'm paying the price, I'm being attacked.
But isn't that what every liar either of you have ever called as a witness says, by the way? I know I did horrible things, I lied, but I'm not a liar, I'm trying to fix my life for my kids.
Well, you'd be surprised. A lot of them do, but they're not all credible. I mean, Manafort didn't do that. Manafort took a plea and then continued to lie. But what he said about the 10 years he worked with Donald Trump hand in glove and the kind of characteristics that Trump displayed. For instance, he said, I've lied, but I'm not a liar. And that was obviously saying, but Mr. Trump is. And Mr. Trump doesn't care about this country.
See, I thought one thing I thought you were going to mention, the one thing, and then I want to get back to the legal thing, because I think there were some important legal moments, is when he said repeatedly and emphatically, I do not believe, about some alleged tape that didn't exist, I do not believe that Donald Trump would ever have hit his wife. He's not that kind of person. Defending Trump, even on that sort of ancillary thing, I thought was a persuasive moment, too. Do you agree with her there were not major legal problems raised for the president today?
And I think most of what we heard today, we had heard before. The difference today was that we were hearing it firsthand from the horse's mouth, so to speak. But there were a few new allegations made that I don't think we had heard before.
Like what moved you?
I think one was the claim that Trump had presented false financial statements to Deutsche Bank
in a loan application to buy the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I mean, if that were done knowingly,
fraud, right?
That would be a crime. Yeah. We also heard... more directly that the explanation of how, according to Michael Cohen, Trump instructed him to lie to Congress. He repeated, we heard it in his own words, that he wasn't told point blank to do it, but he was told in so many words, and as somebody who had known Trump for 10 years and knew how Trump communicated, the message was clear to him.
About the Moscow deal, and he also went on to say on that, even though I'm not sure it's a crime, that he briefed not only Trump himself, but the Trump kids and the family, whatever it is, on the status of the negotiations, at least 10. Do you not think those are serious, legitimate legal issues?
They are, but they have been all along. I mean, they're not new legal issues.
We didn't know about the fraud thing. We didn't know about the loan application where he allegedly
fair enough, and that gets
his
lawyers like us excited. But as Trump has said, you know, he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and nobody would care. So we are dealing with a president where, unless there is conclusive evidence to a lot of people in the public that this man shouldn't be president, I'm concerned that some of the legal interactions that are taking place may not do what you would like them to do.
Well, let me add to. I'm just reciting what I saw, Martha Coakley. How about this notion? I mean, both the president and Roger Stone have said I never discussed WikiLeaks with Mr. WikiLeaks, Julian Assange. I never discussed it with the president. Cohen said I was there. And I heard Stone call him, and they put it on speakerphone saying, I'm talking to Assange. That's one. And two, I don't know if this changes the dynamic. He writes a check. We know he wrote. We saw the check, $35,000 while he's president. Now, Trump, I assume, would say it may have been for something else. The contention by Michael Cohen is that was a check written by the sitting president of the United States to reimburse me for hush money payments in violation of campaign finance law to Stormy Daniels. Now, again, we didn't know about a thing in the White House, and we surely didn't know about this alleged Stone-Trump discussion about Assange, right?
Exactly, but is it just more maybe Trump was stretching the truth or lying? Do people care? Or does it show substantive crimes that people are going to care about and that he'll be indicted for, either by New York or by Bob Mueller?
So I have to agree with Martha on this one, that I think although the scenario that Cohen set forth would be a conspiracy between him and Trump to violate campaign finance laws. And although technically that is a crime, it's usually not prosecuted as a crime, and I don't know that it would register in the minds of many people as a crime they cared about. Is it a high crime, or is it just a petty crime? I mean,
so you both seem to be arguing two things. One, that politics may overwhelm the law in this situation. I think that's where you started.
No, I'm just saying today's hearing was about soap opera. Today's hearing was, I think, on the Democrats' part, an effort to try and bring into the living rooms of people what this character who masquerades as our president really is. And the Republicans were just saying, no, attacking Cohen in a way that was also just political. I mean, it wasn't the way you would attack
you'd attempt to destroy the credibility of a witness if you had, maybe not for 11 hours, the same exact
questions. But it doesn't work except for the vast number of people who support Trump.
Can I try one other take on this legal thing? Because I'm surprised to hear you both say what you say as seasoned prosecutors. I think another issue is, as Martha said, there were new things, but they're mostly addenda to things that we knew about before. If we knew nothing about any of these things, and Michael Cohen testified, first impression about this WikiLeaks connection, about hush money payments, about being told to lie about the Moscow thing, about the allegedly fraudulent submissions to get a loan, would your heads not be popping off?
Absolutely, and I think that you make a fair point, which is that it would be one shock after another. But we've been hit by so many shockwaves already that it's hard to...
Does that affect people like you also in what you both used to do for a living?
To some extent, we're frogs being boiled.
But even as a prosecutor with a prosecutor's mind and thinking about whether something is a technical violation of the law, you still have to ask yourself, is this a case with jury appeal? Is this something that people are going to think of as important?
Well, and also going to violate the Department of Justice memoranda saying you can't prosecute a sitting president, even though who knows about Southern District of New York. I want to now get to your political point. Here's Chris Christie, obviously one of the earliest supporters of the president, after he dropped out, a former governor of New Jersey. Here he is on ABC.
The interesting thing is that there hasn't been one Republican yet who's tried to defend the president on the substance. And I think that's something that should be concerning to the White House.
I'm not sure if that would worry me, but here is on a variation on the same thing. Here is Cohen himself saying something not dissimilar from Christie.
All I wanted to say is I just find it interesting, sir, that between yourself and your colleagues, that not one question so far since I'm here has been asked about President Trump. That's actually why I thought I was coming today, not to confess the mistakes that I've made.
So there are one of two conclusions. If you buy Christie's notion, the White House should worry because they couldn't defend the president, so they didn't even try. If you buy Cohen's notion, which is the one that worries me, it leads me to the conclusion Bob Mueller could come out with an 8,000-page report with bill of particulars, and this is not shaken 1 inch the Republicans who are supporting him down the line. Which interpretation, if either?
Well, I don't think we know yet, but I think that's a real concern.
The latter.
The latter is a real concern. But what you see is today very different from defending Trump. This is attacking someone who's a felon, and so he's attackable, and it's okay for them to do it. But this is part of their process to see, as they do this, which way are the winds going to blow?
But isn't it defending Trump by solely attacking the witness and never asking even one question about the underlying allegations that Cohen's making?
No, I 100%. I mean, that is the standard strategy. If you don't have a defense, you try to put the government on trial. And in this case, the Democrats were playing the role as the Republican. This was their witness accusing somebody, and the Republicans were trying to put him on trial.
Well, and to Bill's point, though, there really is no defense of Trump on some of these things, and so they're not going to try and do that. All they can do, like a good defense lawyer, is try and dirty up the witness.
Okay, so I'm sure in your careers you both have put really slimy characters, including felons, on the stand on your side. Based on that history, how did Michael Cohen do today, Bill, in front of Congress?
So one of the ways that jurors are told to evaluate a witness, and by the way, when a witness is somebody who has participated in the crime, pled guilty to the crime, jurors are cautioned to treat that witness with some skepticism, to be careful. But they're also told to take a look at the witness. Does he answer the questions straight up? Does he try to duck them? Does he appear consistent in his testimony?
Did he?
From what I saw, he did.
How about you?
I thought so, too. I thought he was pretty credible internally. And, a rat is criticized, but he's only useful if he is truthful and he can be corroborated in some ways. And so we have to bet that a lot of what he said, even though he's the only one in the room, can be corroborated by other circumstantial evidence that I'm guessing Robert Mueller and the Southern District of New York have.
As we continue to wait for that bill, it's good to see you.
Yes,
thanks so
great
much
to
for
see
your
you,
time,
Jim.
Martha. Really appreciate your time as
Thanks,
well.
Jim.
Thank you both.